The crystalline barrier shimmered like morning dew across the vast expanse of space, its translucent surface casting prismatic reflections across Europa Station's observation deck. Captain Diana Chin pressed her palm against the reinforced viewport, her breath creating small clouds on the transparent surface. Behind her, the station's quantum sensors hummed their usual melody, but today they carried an undertone she had never heard before. "Captain, the last Galactic assembly ship has cleared the barrier's perimeter," Lieutenant Sarah Hayes reported, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We're officially contained." Diana turned from the viewport, her dark eyes reflecting the determination that had earned her command of humanity's furthest outpost. "Contained," she repeated, testing the word. "That's one way to put it." The station's main display flickered to life, showing the barrier's complete enclosure of the solar system. From this vantage point on Europa, they had a perfect view of humanity's new prison, a quantum field engineered by the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, designed to keep Earth and its colonies isolated from the rest of the universe. "Their reasons don't add up," Dr. James Morrison said, entering the observation deck with a holographic tablet displaying streams of data. The chief scientist's usually pristine lab coat was wrinkled, evidence of the sleepless nights spent analyzing the barrier's construction. The assembly claims were advancing too quickly, that were unpredictable. But these readings, he gestured to his tablet, where complex equations scrolled endlessly. Diana moved to his side, studying the data, her background in quantum mechanics, before choosing the command track, allowed her to grasp the implications. "The field structure is too elaborate for simple containment," she observed, highlighting a particular sequence. "Look at these resonance patterns." Lieutenant Hayes joined them, her engineering expertise adding another perspective. "It's almost like..." She paused, recalibrating one of the sensor arrays, like it's designed to interact with something specific. The station's lights dimmed momentarily as a surge of energy rippled through the barrier, causing the quantum sensors to spike. Diana's eyes widened as new data flooded the screens. The barrier wasn't just containing them. It was active, dynamic, responding to something they couldn't yet understand. "Run a full spectrum analysis," Diana ordered, moving to the central command console. "Focus on quantum neural frequencies." Her fingers flew across the holographic interface, implementing algorithms she had developed during her academy days. Dr. Morrison looked up sharply. "Quantum neural? You think there's a biological component to the field?" "Think about it," Diana said, her voice intense with realization. "Every major advancement in human history has come when we were pressed against our limits. The Assembly knows this. They've studied our history. So why give us a barrier that perfectly encompasses our entire solar system?" The implications hung in the air as her words sank in. Lieutenant Hayes was the first to voice it. "They're not trying to stop our advancement. They're directing it." Diana nodded, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "And they've given us exactly what we need to do it. A quantum field that responds to human presence in ways I don't think even they understand." The station's sensors chimed, confirming her suspicions. The barrier's energy signature showed subtle variations wherever human settlements were closest to it, variations that corresponded to known patterns of human neural activity. "Send these findings to Earth Central," Diana commanded, already forming plans. "And get me a secure channel to the Lunar Research Institute. We need to begin widespread monitoring of human interaction with the barrier." As her crew rushed to comply, Diana returned to the viewport. The barrier sparkled with new meaning now, less a prison wall and more a puzzle waiting to be solved. She thought of Earth's history, of how humanity had always turned obstacles into opportunities. "You wanted to see what we'd do when challenged," she murmured, addressing their absent galactic neighbors. "Well, challenge accepted." The quantum sensors continued their song, but now Diana recognized the undertone for what it was: possibility. Humanity's next chapter was beginning, and from her vantage point on Europa Station, she intended to help write it. Little did the Galactic Assembly know, Their containment field would become the catalyst for humanity's greatest transformation. They had given humanity exactly what it needed, a reason to look inward, to discover the untapped potential that had always existed within their species. The first light of a new dawn was breaking, and Diana Chen would make sure humanity was ready for it. The Lunar Research Institute's main laboratory hummed with activity as holographic displays filled the air with cascading data streams. Dr. Marcus Rivera stood in the center of this technological symphony, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of quantum readings taken from the barrier. 5 years, he muttered, adjusting the neural interface on his temple. 5 years of isolation, and now this. His fingers traced patterns in the air, manipulating the holographic data with practiced precision. The door slid open with a soft hiss, admitting Diana Chen, now director of Project Ascension. The years had added subtle lines around her eyes, but her presence commanded the same respect it had on Europa Station. "Tell me you've confirmed it, Marcus," she said, striding to his side. The journey from Europa to Luna had taken 3 days, even with the latest fusion drives, and she hadn't waited to change out of her travel suit. Marcus nodded, expanding a particular data set with a gesture. "It's more than we imagined, Diana. The barrier isn't just containing neural signals, it's amplifying them. Look at these resonance patterns." The holographic display shifted, showing a time-lapse of human neural activity near the barrier over the past 5 years. What had started as subtle variations had grown into distinct, organized patterns. "We're seeing a 50% increase in quantum coherence in human brain activity within 1 kilometer of the barrier," Marcus explained, highlighting specific data points. "But here's the fascinating part. The effect doesn't diminish when people move away. It's like their brains have been upgraded." Diana studied the data, her scientific background allowing her to grasp the implications. "The barrier is teaching our brains to maintain quantum coherence naturally. We're evolving, Marcus." "Not just evolving," a new voice added. Dr. Sarah Hayes, formerly Diana's lieutenant on Europa, now headed the Institute's Applied Sciences Division. She approached with her own set of readings. "We're remembering something we forgot." The three gathered around a new display as Sarah input her findings. "These neural patterns, they match fragments we found in ancient human DNA sequences. It's like the barrier is awakening dormant capabilities." Diana's eyes narrowed as she processed this information. "Show me the global distribution." Marcus brought up a world map, dotted with points of light representing enhanced neural activity. "It's spreading, Diana. And the younger the subject, the stronger the effect. Children born in the past 5 years show neural structures we've never seen before, or haven't seen in a very long time," Sarah corrected, pulling up genetic comparisons. "These structures appear in degraded form in our oldest DNA samples, from before recorded history." The implications hung in the air, like the holographic displays surrounding them. Diana moved to the laboratory's viewport, looking up at the barrier shimmering in Luna's sky. "They knew," she said softly. "The assembly didn't exile us. They put us in an incubator." Marcus joined her at the viewport. "The question is, what are we incubating toward? These capabilities, quantum coherence at a biological level, it should be impossible. We need to expand testing," Diana decided, turning back to face her colleagues. "Every human settlement, from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt. I want comprehensive monitoring of these changes." Sarah was already working on implementation protocols. "We'll need to modify the quantum sensors. Standard equipment can't track these patterns effectively anymore." "Use the barrier itself," Diana suggested, her mind racing ahead. "If it's already interacting with our neural patterns, we can use that interaction to enhance our monitoring capabilities." Marcus's eyes lit up with understanding. "Turn our prison into a network, Diana. That's brilliant." The three scientists worked through the night, their excitement growing as each new piece of data confirmed their theories. The barrier wasn't just changing individual humans, it was creating a quantum network connecting all of humanity. As morning broke over the lunar surface, Diana stood again at the viewport, watching Earth rise over the horizon. Somewhere out there, beyond the barrier, the Galactic Assembly thought they had contained humanity's potential. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed: time and focus to discover their true nature. The hidden gift of isolation was revealing itself, and Diana Chen intended to ensure humanity was ready for whatever awakening awaited them. "Send word to all research stations," she instructed. "Project Ascension is entering Phase 2. It's time to find out what humanity is really capable of." The barrier shimmered above them, no longer a wall, but a bridge to humanity's next evolution. Sarah Martins perched on the edge of her seat in the Lunar Institute's observation chamber, her small 8-year-old frame barely containing the excitement that made her brown eyes sparkle. Before her, a complex array of quantum particles danced in precisely controlled patterns, each one tracked by the Institute's most advanced sensors. "Ready, Sarah?" Dr. Rivera asked, his kind voice carrying through the chamber's communication system. Behind the observation window, he stood beside Director Chen, both watching with carefully controlled anticipation. Sarah nodded, her dark curls bouncing. "I can see them better today," she said, pointing to spaces between the quantum particles where the sensors showed nothing. "The hidden paths are clearer." Diana leaned forward, her attention sharp. "Tell us what you see, Sarah. Take your time." The young girl closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them with a focused expression that seemed beyond her years. "It's like strings of light, connecting everything. Some are bright, some are soft, but they're all singing together." The sensors suddenly registered a spike in quantum activity. The floating particles began to move, not randomly, but in perfect synchronization. Sarah raised her hand, and the particles followed her movement, forming complex geometric patterns that shouldn't have been possible according to standard physics. "Remarkable," Marcus breathed, checking the readings. "She's creating stable quantum tunnels at will. The particles are entangled across distances we couldn't achieve with our best equipment." Diana watched as Sarah continued to guide the particles, her movements becoming more confident. The girl was one of 1,000 children born since the barrier's creation who showed these extraordinary abilities. But Sarah's talent exceeded all others. "The paths want to be together," Sarah explained, her voice dreamy but precise. "They're all part of the same dance. I just have to show them how to find each other." Through the observation window, complex holographic displays tracked Sarah's neural activity. Patterns of quantum coherence rippled through her brain in ways that mirrored the barrier's own energy signature. "Diana," Marcus called softly, directing her attention to a particular reading. "Look at this neural pathway. It's exactly like the pattern we found in those ancient DNA sequences." The door to the observation chamber slid open as Dr. Hayes entered, carrying new data from the global monitoring network. "It's not just Sarah," she reported, her voice tight with excitement. "We're seeing similar developments in children across every human settlement. The latest reports from Mars Colony show their quantum sensitivity is increasing exponentially." Sarah lowered her hand, the particles settling into a perfect helical pattern. "Director Chen," she called out, "I can see the big barrier too. It has paths inside it, like the ones in here. They're waiting for us to find them." Diana exchanged glances with her colleagues. They had suspected the barrier contained quantum tunnels, but no adult human could perceive them, let alone interact with them. These children, however, saw them as naturally as they saw visible light. "Show me where these paths are, Sarah," Diana encouraged, activating a holographic model of the barrier. "Can you mark them for us?" Sarah stood, approaching the hologram with confidence. Her small finger traced lines through the barrier's structure, revealing connections and patterns that the Institute's best computers had missed. As she worked, the sensors recorded everything, building a map of quantum pathways that could revolutionize their understanding of the barrier. "There's something else," Sarah said suddenly, her hand pausing mid-motion. "The paths. They go beyond the barrier. Way beyond. I can feel them stretching out to the stars." Marcus quickly adjusted the sensors, expanding their range. The readings confirmed it. The quantum tunnels Sarah perceived extended far past the barrier's boundaries, reaching toward distant star systems. Diana felt a familiar surge of excitement, the same she'd experienced when first discovering the barrier's true nature on Europa Station. "It was never about containing us," she said, watching Sarah continue to map the quantum pathways. "The barrier is a lens, focusing humanity's dormant abilities, and these children are showing us how to use it." As if in response to her words, the barrier visible through the lunar facility's windows shimmered with new energy. Sarah looked up at it, a knowing smile on her young face. "We're supposed to follow the paths," she said simply. "They'll take us home." Diana Chen watched the young girl return to her quantum orchestration, knowing they were witnessing the beginning of humanity's next great journey. The question was no longer whether they could breach the barrier, but where these quantum paths would lead them. The quantum monitoring station on Titan blazed with emergency lights as alarms echoed through its corridors. Diana Chen rushed into the control center, her breath visible in the station's cold air despite the environmental systems. "Show me," she commanded, and the main display activated, revealing a massive hologram of the barrier. After 10 years of study, they had never seen it behave like this. Ripples of energy cascaded across its surface, creating momentary windows of transparency. Sarah Martinez, now 18 and the head of the Quantum Perception Division, stood before the main console. Her hands moved through the holographic controls with practiced ease, her abilities refined by years of training. "The fluctuations began 20 minutes ago," she reported, her voice steady despite the tension. "But look at what we captured during the last breach." She gestured, and the display shifted to show a brief recording through one of the transparent patches. Diana's breath caught. Beyond the barrier, massive ships engaged in battle, energy weapons cutting bright lines through space. The ships' designs were unlike anything in their historical records. "How far?" Diana asked, already knowing they had to act. "Approximately 12 light-years from our position," Sarah answered. "The quantum pathways I can perceive leading there are still stable." She paused, meeting Diana's gaze. "We can make the journey." Dr. Rivera's voice came through the communication system from his position at the Lunar Institute. "The quantum tunneling equipment is ready. But Diana, we've never attempted a transfer at this distance." Diana studied the tactical display, where more ships appeared through subsequent barrier breaches. "Whatever's happening out there, it's big enough to affect the barrier. We need to know why." She turned to Sarah. "Assemble your team. We're going through." Within an hour, Diana stood with Sarah and 3 other quantum-sensitive individuals in Titan's transportation chamber. Each wore a specially designed suit that enhanced their natural abilities to perceive and manipulate quantum states. "Remember," Diana instructed as they made final preparations, "this is reconnaissance only. We observe, we gather data, and we return. No engagement with any forces we encounter." Sarah adjusted her quantum resonance amplifier, a device of her own design that helped stabilize their tunneling abilities. "The pathway is clearest near the Procyon system. That's our best entry point." The chamber hummed to life as power fed into the quantum field generators. On the other side of the reinforced viewport, Dr. Rivera monitored the process. "Quantum tunnel stabilizing. You'll have approximately 30 seconds to make the transition." Diana looked at her team. The finest minds humanity had produced in a decade of isolation, each born with abilities their ancestors had somehow lost. "Begin the sequence." Sarah raised her hands, and the air before them began to shimmer. Unlike the crude mechanical attempts at quantum tunneling, her natural abilities created a passage that looked almost organic, its edges flowing like liquid starlight. "Tunnel stabilized," she announced. "Ready for transition." Diana took a deep breath. Forward. They stepped through the quantum tunnel together. For a moment, reality seemed to fold around them, space and time becoming abstract concepts rather than absolute laws. Then they emerged, and Diana's first thought was that the tactical displays hadn't done justice to the scale of the conflict before them. Massive ships, each larger than Earth's largest cities, exchanged fire in a deadly dance. But something about their movement seemed wrong, almost desperate, as if they were fleeing rather than fighting. "Energy signatures incoming," one of the team reported, checking his instruments. "These readings, they're similar to the barrier, but magnitudes more powerful." Sarah's eyes widened suddenly. Something's coming through their quantum wake. Something old. She turned to Diana, her expression grave. "I've seen these patterns before, in the deepest quantum paths. They're the same ones that were sealed away in our genetic memory." Before Diana could respond, space itself seemed to tear open at the edge of the battle. Through the rent in reality, something began to emerge, something that made the quantum-sensitive members of the team recoil instinctively. "Now we know," Diana said softly, watching as the alien ships began retreat patterns. "We weren't exiled. We were preserved." She activated her quantum communicator, hoping it could reach across the tunnel back to Titan. "Dr. Rivera, begin full activation of Project Ascension. We're going to need every quantum-sensitive individual we have." The thing emerging from the spatial tear grew larger, and Diana understood with sudden clarity why humanity had been hidden behind the barrier. They hadn't been imprisoned. They'd been protected while they remembered how to fight what was coming. In the depths of the Lunar Research Institute's genetic laboratory, Diana Chen stared at the holographic DNA strand rotating before her. After their return from beyond the barrier, she had authorized full access to humanity's genetic archives, searching for the memories hidden in their very cells. "There," Sarah pointed, highlighting a sequence that pulsed with unusual quantum resonance. "This section isn't junk DNA like we always thought. It's encoded information, using quantum states as a storage medium." Dr. Rivera manipulated the controls, expanding the sequence. The lab's quantum computers hummed as they processed the incredible amount of data hidden within the genetic structure. "It's not just information," he breathed. "It's a message. From our ancestors." The holographic display shifted, transforming the DNA sequence into recognizable patterns, star maps, technical specifications, and most importantly, memories. Ancient memories, preserved perfectly within the quantum states of human DNA. "Play the first sequence," Diana commanded, her voice hushed with anticipation. The laboratory darkened as the holographic projectors activated fully. Around them, a scene from Earth's distant past materialized. They watched as ancient humans, far more advanced than history had ever suggested, fought against entities that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "The Void Harbingers," Sarah whispered, recognizing the creatures from her quantum perceptions beyond the barrier. "Our ancestors knew them, fought them." The scene showed massive defense platforms orbiting Earth, powered by technology that manipulated quantum states on a scale they were only now beginning to rediscover. Humans with abilities like Sarah's coordinated the defense, their minds linked through quantum entanglement. This is why the barrier was created, Diana realized, watching as the ancient battle unfolded. Not to contain us, but to give us time to remember, to reawaken these abilities naturally. Dr. Rivera accessed another sequence, revealing technical data about the quantum defense systems. "Look at these specifications. The barrier isn't just similar to these ancient defense platforms. It's an exact replica, scaled up to encompass our entire solar system." Sarah moved through the holographic display, her quantum sensitivity allowing her to interact directly with the stored memories. "There's more," she said, her expression intense with concentration. "These patterns, they're not just memories. They're instructions." The display shifted again, showing a vast network of quantum tunnels connecting different parts of the galaxy. Diana recognized the paths Sarah had perceived as a child, now understanding their true purpose. "It's a defense network," she said, the pieces falling into place. "The ancient humans created it to protect against the Void Harbingers, and when they couldn't defeat them completely, they separated humanity." Dr. Rivera finished, reading through the data. sealed away our advanced knowledge and abilities within our own DNA, hidden so deeply that only specific conditions could reawaken them. Sarah accessed another memory sequence, this one showing the final moments before the ancient civilization enacted their plan. They watched as the quantum defense network was carefully hidden, its control systems encoded into human genetics, waiting for the right moment to be rediscovered. The barrier's energy signature, Diana said suddenly, pulling up current readings. It exactly matches the frequency needed to reactivate these dormant genes. The Galactic Assembly didn't design it. They found it, preserved it, and restored it around our solar system when they detected the Void Harbingers returning. The laboratory's computers chimed as they completed processing another section of the quantum-encoded DNA. New technical specifications appeared, showing weapons, ships, and defense systems far beyond anything humanity currently possessed. We need to begin construction immediately, Diana decided, already forming plans. Sarah, can you access the complete defense network specifications from these memories? Sarah nodded, her hands moving through the holographic controls with practiced ease. The quantum pathways are all still there, just dormant. With these instructions, we can reactivate them. Dr. Rivera studied the technical readouts with growing excitement. These designs, with our current understanding of quantum mechanics and the abilities of our quantum-sensitive population, we could rebuild everything within months. Diana watched as more memories unfolded before them, each one adding to their understanding of humanity's true heritage. They weren't just rediscovering lost technology. They were remembering who they had been, who they were meant to be. Send word to all human settlements, she ordered. It's time to awaken every quantum-sensitive individual we have. We're not just fighting for survival now. We're reclaiming our role as guardians of this galaxy. The ancient memories continued to play around them, showing them the path forward. While beyond the barrier, the Void Harbingers approached, unaware that humanity was finally remembering how to defeat them. The Quantum Bridge Control Center inside Sarah's station pulsed with energy as Sarah Martinez initiated the final sequence of her protocol. Around her, dozens of quantum-sensitive operators sat at crystalline interfaces, their minds linked through carefully controlled entanglement fields. "Bridge pathway stable," she announced, watching as the quantum tunnels she had mapped as a child finally aligned into a functioning network. "Ready for first transmission." Diana Chen stood at the main observation platform, her attention split between the holographic display of the network and the physical view of space beyond the station's windows. "Begin transmission sequence. Priority target, Proxima Centauri colony." The air hummed as Sarah engaged the quantum communications array. Unlike traditional signals that would take years to reach even the nearest star, this message would arrive instantly, transmitted through the quantum pathways their ancestors had built. "Connection established," Sarah reported, her eyes gleaming with the subtle luminescence that all quantum sensitives now displayed when using their abilities. "Proxima colony is receiving." The main display erupted with data as the first transmission in a decade passed beyond their solar system. But this was more than just communication. It was the first step in reactivating the ancient defense network. "We're receiving their response," one of the operators called out. "Quantum signature matches our predictions. Their dormant systems are coming online." Diana watched as points of light began appearing on the galactic map, each representing a hidden quantum node awakening after millennia of silence. The network their ancestors had built was vast, extending far beyond what even the Galactic Assembly had known existed. "Secondary targets locked," Sarah announced, her hands dancing through the quantum interface. "Initiating broad-spectrum activation sequence." Across the galaxy, on worlds under attack from the Void Harbingers, quantum defense systems suddenly activated. The ancient technology, hidden beneath centuries of development by other species, responded to the signal from humanity's reborn network. First defense engagement recorded in the Sirius sector, an analyst reported, bringing up tactical displays. "Quantum shields are holding against void entities. They weren't expecting resistance." Diana smiled slightly, remembering the ancient memories they had uncovered. They thought they had destroyed all traces of the old network. They never realized we had hidden it in plain sight, disguised as normal technological development across 1,000 worlds. Sarah's interface chimed with an urgent signal. "Director, we're receiving distress calls from multiple sectors. The Void Harbingers are attacking civilian populations in the Pleiades cluster." "Response time?" Diana asked, already moving to the tactical station. "Quantum tunnels are stable along that vector," Sarah confirmed. "We can have defense platforms activated within minutes." Diana nodded. "Do it, but maintain our anonymity for now. Let them think these are automated systems." The room hummed with activity as more quantum-sensitive operators joined their abilities to the network, strengthening the connections between distant stars. Each one had been trained using the knowledge recovered from their genetic memory, their natural abilities enhanced by understanding their true heritage. Multiple void entities retreating from defended sectors. The tactical officer reported. "They're realizing these aren't random resistance points. It's a coordinated defense." Sarah's expression became distant as she accessed deeper levels of the quantum network. "I can feel them searching, trying to understand where the resistance is coming from." Her eyes refocused sharply. "They're starting to trace the quantum signatures back to their source." "Let them come," Diana said firmly. "The barrier isn't just our defense anymore. It's our forward command center. Every attack they launch makes our network stronger, wakes up more dormant systems." The Galactic display now showed hundreds of active points, each representing a successfully defended world. The quantum network was growing exponentially, each activated node strengthening the whole. "Message from the Galactic Assembly," an operator announced. "They're requesting information about the source of the quantum defense systems." Diana exchanged looks with Sarah. "Not yet," she decided. "Humanity's return needs to be precisely timed. For now, let them wonder about their mysterious guardians." Sarah nodded, turning back to her controls. Initiating next phase of network activation. The Void Harbingers won't know what hit them until it's too late. Beyond the station's windows, the barrier shimmered with new purpose. No longer a prison, it had become exactly what their ancestors intended. The central hub of humanity's return to their role as protectors of the galaxy. And somewhere out in the darkness between stars, the Void Harbingers were about to discover that their ancient enemies had not been as thoroughly defeated as they had believed. The primary chamber of the Galactic Assembly fell silent as Diana Chen stood at the podium, her quantum interface subtly glowing beneath her formal diplomatic attire. Representatives from 1,000 worlds watched, their attention fixed on the first human to address this chamber in over a decade. "Honorable members of the Assembly," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. "You asked for an explanation of the quantum defense network that has protected your worlds. Today, we provide answers." Sarah Martinez, standing at a control interface nearby, initiated the presentation sequence. Above the chamber, a holographic display materialized, showing the full extent of the quantum network they had reactivated. "What you're seeing isn't new technology," Diana continued. "It's ancient, built by humanity's ancestors as a shield against the very threat we face today. The Void Harbingers aren't unknown to us. They're an enemy we faced before." Murmurs rippled through the assembly as the display showed historical records, retrieved from humanity's genetic memory. Ancient battles, advanced technology, and the final decision to hide their true nature until it was needed again. "The barrier you placed around our solar system," Diana explained, "was not your creation. It was ours, preserved through ages, waiting to be restored when the time was right. You didn't imprison us. You helped us remember who we are." The Assembly's High Chancellor rose from his seat. "These claims are extraordinary, Director Chen. Yet they don't explain the quantum phenomena protecting our worlds." Diana nodded to Sarah, who activated her full quantum sensitivity. The chamber's lights dimmed as she demonstrated humanity's awakened abilities, creating visible quantum tunnels that connected different points in space. "We are the network," Diana stated simply. Every quantum defense system responding to the Void Harbingers is controlled by human operators, working through pathways built into the fabric of space itself by our ancestors. The display shifted to show real-time footage of quantum shields protecting distant worlds, each synchronized with the subtle movements of Sarah's hands. The assembly representatives watched in amazement as she coordinated defensive actions across light years instantly. "Impossible," one delegate breathed. "The energy requirements alone are handled through quantum entanglement at a biological level," Diana finished. "Something unique to human genetics, carefully preserved and now reawakened. We're not just fighting the Void Harbingers, we're fulfilling our species' original purpose as guardians of this galaxy." The High Chancellor studied the tactical displays showing the retreat of void entities from protected sectors. "Why reveal this now?" "Because the next phase requires cooperation," Diana answered. "The network isn't complete. There are gaps in our coverage, worlds we can't reach in time. We need your help to restore the full defensive grid." Sarah brought up a new display, showing proposed quantum relay stations that would extend their protection to every inhabited system. "We're not asking for control or dominion," Diana continued. "We're offering partnership. The role humanity was meant to play, standing with all sentient life against the darkness between stars." The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives debated the implications. Diana waited patiently, knowing that the next few moments would determine the future of both humanity and the galaxy. Finally, the High Chancellor raised his hand for silence. "You could have kept this secret," he observed. "Continued protecting our worlds from the shadows. Why choose transparency?" Diana smiled slightly. "Because that's not who we are. Humanity doesn't seek to rule or dominate. We're guardians, not conquerors. The network isn't just about defense. It's about connection, understanding, unity against common threats." She gestured to the display showing worlds already under their protection. "Every life saved strengthens our resolve. Every world defended reminds us of our purpose. We're not asking for recognition or power. We're asking for the chance to fulfill our destiny, standing beside you as equals." The High Chancellor considered for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "The Assembly will need time to verify these claims, but given the evidence of your actions thus far," he straightened formally, "we accept your offer of partnership." As the chamber filled with voices of agreement, Diana exchanged glances with Sarah. Phase 7 was complete. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity's return wasn't a bid for power. It was the restoration of an ancient balance, a partnership that had protected all life since the dawn of civilization. And somewhere in the quantum network, the first signals of the final phase were already beginning to pulse through space, preparing for humanity's ultimate role in the coming war. The grand observation deck of New Earth Station sparkled with crystalline quantum interfaces as representatives from every human world gathered with their galactic counterparts. Through the vast windows, the barrier that had once contained them now pulsed with purpose, its surface rippling with the power of fully awakened quantum systems. Diana Chen stood beside Sarah Martinez, both wearing the formal uniforms of the newly established Interstellar Guardian Initiative. The years had left their mark, but their eyes held the same determination that had guided humanity's return to the stars. "Final network synchronization complete," Sarah reported, her quantum interface displaying status updates from across the galaxy. "All defensive grids are operating at full capacity." The assembled delegates watched as the holographic display showed the complete quantum defense network, now spanning every inhabited system. Points of light represented active quantum-sensitive operators, their combined abilities creating an impenetrable shield against the Void Harbingers. "The ancient network is fully restored," Diana announced to the gathering. "But what we've built goes beyond mere defense. Together, we've created something our ancestors could only dream of: true unity among all sentient species." The High Chancellor of the Galactic Assembly stepped forward, his ceremonial robes catching the light from nearby stars. When we enacted the barrier around Sol system, we thought we were protecting the galaxy from humanity's unpredictable nature. Instead, we helped awaken its greatest defenders. Young quantum-sensitive operators from a dozen species demonstrated their newly developed abilities, guided by human instructors. What had once been unique to humanity was now being carefully shared, strengthening the bonds between civilizations. The Void Harbingers are retreating from known space, Sarah reported, monitoring the tactical displays. Their last attack was repelled without a single civilian casualty. Diana nodded, remembering the long journey from that first day on Europa Station. They'll return eventually, but when they do, they'll find a galaxy united and prepared. Our ancestors built the foundation. We've created something even greater. Through the quantum network, images flowed from thousands of worlds. Children of various species learning to perceive quantum states, defense platforms powered by cooperative consciousness, and the first ships of the Joint Guardian Fleet preparing for their maiden voyages. A small Arcturian child approached Diana, her crystalline form shimmering with newly awakened quantum sensitivity. "Is it true?" she asked in her musical voice. "That humans kept these secrets safe for all of us?" Diana knelt beside her, smiling warmly. "We were caretakers," she explained, preserving knowledge until the galaxy was ready for unity. But the real gift wasn't the technology or the abilities. It was the understanding that we're all connected, all part of the same cosmic dance. Sarah initiated the final sequence of the day, and the barrier around Sol system transformed. Instead of a containing field, it became a quantum amplification array, its energy reaching out to strengthen the entire network. The Interstellar Guardian Initiative is now fully operational, Diana announced to the assembled delegates. Every world, every species working together. Not just against the Void Harbingers, but toward a future our ancestors envisioned, one of unlimited potential and true cooperation. The High Chancellor raised his hands, and the gathering fell silent. Let history record that humanity's return to the galactic community wasn't marked by conquest or dominion, but by protection and partnership. The age of isolation is over. The age of unity begins. As if in response to his words, quantum lights danced across space, visible from every world in the network. Humans and aliens alike watched in awe as their combined abilities created displays of impossible beauty, a celebration of life and connection spanning the stars. Diana looked at Sarah, seeing in her friend's eyes the same wonder they had shared as they first discovered their true heritage. "Ready for what comes next?" she asked softly. Sarah smiled, her quantum interface pulsing with the heartbeat of the galaxy. "We've only just begun," she replied. "There are still so many secrets to unlock, so many paths to explore." Above them, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if welcoming the dawn of a new era. Humanity had returned to their place among the stars not as conquerors or subjects, but as guardians, teachers, and partners in the greatest alliance the galaxy had ever known. The story that began with Exiled had led to something far greater than mere return. It had led to transformation, not just of humanity, but of all sentient life, united in purpose and protected by the very barriers that had once seemed to contain them.